this fall on Fox 14. Primetime News with Jordan Abbey tonight on KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14.
You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Today, the home office is now perhaps the norm as job openings exist right in your own living room.
That's a hard start to beat right there. We're talking about blue sky and not oppressive temperatures. But there's a heat wave coming. We'll have the latest from the Skywatch Weather Center.
Also, one first responder looks back on the moments following the 9/11 attack on the Pentagon. All that and more coming up. Thanks for joining us for the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. I'm Tanya Bach. Hundreds of work-from-home jobs are currently available in the Joplin area. The latest data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics shows 13% of employed people teleworked or worked from home in the last 4 weeks because of the pandemic. But now some local businesses are hiring new employees specifically for work-from-home positions. Teleperformance and Dish Network have ads listed online for remote work in the area, and Alorica and Joplin is working on hiring 600 employees, none of whom will go to the office.
Something born out of necessity that was done at first, and we've just had a great time with it. And then it really did make complete sense for us to bring 600 work-at-home employees here into the Joplin area.
Alorica has filled 300 of those positions so far. Freeman health officials prepare for the upcoming flu season and how the pandemic could affect it. Last year, flu cases hit a record low, which health experts attribute to increased masking and cleaning practices. Because of the low exposure last year, the CDC worries more people could be vulnerable this flu season. Freeman officials recommend everyone keep wearing masks, practice regular hand washing, and get the flu vaccine.
It works on a lot of different respiratory viruses, and in particular flu and RSV. So I would really strongly encourage all of us to keep that in mind, and especially, if you are a person who has pulmonary disease, that you're an at-risk population, not just for COVID. And I would really strongly advise you to continue to follow those.
Officials say it is safe to get the COVID vaccine and flu vaccine around the same time. Thousands of Missouri children have been diagnosed with COVID-19 since the new school year began, and at least one rural school closed for cleaning after an outbreak. A map on the state's COVID-19 dashboard breaks down virus cases among people ages 5 to 19 within each school district's geographic boundaries. The map shows nearly 24 districts with at least 41 new cases over the past 14 days. Combined, those districts alone have more than 2,900 illnesses. Locally, Joplin has the most new cases over the past 14 days, with more than 25 reported COVID-19 cases. Authorities capture a Pittsburgh man after a standoff. Police say late last month, William Patton, who was on house arrest, removed his ankle monitor. After following up on several tips, Pittsburgh police tracked down Patton at a Pittsburgh home on East 9th. After an hours-long standoff that involved multiple police agencies, including the KBI, law officers arrested Patton. Patton now faces additional charges of felony interference with law enforcement and unlawfully tampering with an electronic monitoring device. That's in addition to numerous previous charges that include aggravated kidnapping and aggravated assault. Authorities dropped marijuana possession charges once filed against the former Fort Scott Economic Development Director. A lawsuit filed by the former director, Rachel Pruitt, has also been dismissed. That suit alleged discrimination against Pruitt from city commissioners. Tyson Foods is providing financial support to a McDonald County program focused on creating the region's next batch of workers. Yesterday, Tyson donated $10,000 to the McDonald County JAG program. JAG stands for Jobs for America's Graduates. The program helps students recognize their potential and equips them with the tools to land a job once they graduate. The JAG program was founded in 1979. It's a nationwide program that serves 76,000 students in more than 1,400 locations in 39 states.
The most out of the program that I have gotten is the information that I'm given and the resources that I'm also given to help me out with my with my future after high school, like college-wise.
The JAG program was founded in 1979. It's a nationwide program that serves 76,000 students in more than 1,400 locations in 39 states.
Just in case you didn't catch it the first time. High temperatures at Joplin Regional Airport yesterday, 87 degrees. It was very delightful, and what this will do after back-to-back days of this, we'll be able to drop that September average high below the 90-degree mark. That'll change by the time we get to next week, so let's soak in what's going to be a perfect Thursday. 57 degrees right now over 7th and Rangeline. Don't even need the air conditioner for the morning commute. Roll down the windows and enjoy it. 55 in both Monette and Cassville, 56 in Miami. A little bit warmer out to the west, where we are already sitting at 61 and 60 in Chanute and Neodesha, respectively. Winds overnight, they did shift on us. Now, while we picked up some 20-mile-per-hour gusts out of the north yesterday, it's relatively calm. We're just going to roll 5 to 10 miles per hour because if it comes out of the southwest like those arrows show, and this is with the satellite coverage on, you'll notice we've got absolutely nothing to slow us down from heating up except the jet stream. Because as this thing comes in off the Canadian border, feeds us that cooler air, and look, the cold fronts penetrated down into the southeastern portion of the United States. Remember, yesterday during the show, we were saw it creep in just over us. And so now that it's settled in there, we're going to have some nice mild temps. Really seasonable is what I would call them. But just comparatively speaking to what we've had here for the past week or so, where we've been in the 90s, it'll be nice. Look at this big cutoff low right here. Look at that big circle. That does not help the west at all with their elevated fire concerns, as our relative humidity map just shows you right where that cutoff low is, where it's almost white. That humidity is going to drop down to about 15% later this afternoon. For us, it'll hang about 35 to 40%, which really does make a huge difference. So we won't be fighting any difference between our temperature and our actual heat index. Now, we get through Thursday unscathed. Friday, watch the orange and the red begin to creep up from the southwest right there. So an indicator that warmer temperatures are on the way for the weekend. You'll also notice we're void of any precipitation on the 7-day forecast. Kind of in need of some rain. It'd be nice if we just get some light showers right now, but it looks like we're going to have to hold that off till next week.
Well, up next, one entertainment company mandates COVID vaccination for its employees. And some college players start to see profits from their images. You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. New research suggests the location of healthy foods in a supermarket can make a difference. UK researchers find customers make better choices when the fruits and vegetables are near the store entrance and when unhealthy foods are removed from the checkout and end of nearby aisles. Well, a new mandate for Disney employees. The company says U.S. workers must be vaccinated against the coronavirus by the end of September. And Disney says any new staff hired after September 30th must show proof of vaccination at least 1 week prior to their start date. The mandate follows the FDA giving full approval to the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine. Europe's medicines regulator has added an extremely rare nerve-damaging disorder as a possible side effect of AstraZeneca's COVID-19 vaccine. The European Medicines Agency says it is a, quote, reasonable possibility. After 833 cases of GBS were reported out of 592 million doses of the vaccine. The EMA categorized the side effect as very rare, the lowest frequency of side effect category it has, and has emphasized that the benefits of the shot outweigh the risk. In the U.S., the FDA has added a warning over the possible side effect of Johnson & Johnson's shot. And a new international study shows that overweight and obese children are less likely to respond to inhaled steroid medications. Researchers say finding alternative treatments needs to be a priority since breathing issues can keep many asthmatic children from exercising. The American Academy of Pediatrics recommends all children aged 6 months and older get vaccinated for flu this fall. In previous years, about 80% of children who died from the flu had not received the vaccine. The AAP says the flu vaccine is especially important during the COVID pandemic. And Joplin's Ozark Center hosted a workshop yesterday focused on suicide awareness. The theme of the event, Be Someone's Lifeboat. At a separate location, boats were launched honoring 36 lives lost to suicide.
And so our hope is that by talking about it as a community, we lost 36 lives in 2019 to suicide in Southwest Missouri, and that's 36 too many, and any one more death is too many.
Of course, if you or someone you know are struggling with thoughts of suicide, you should call the Suicide Prevention Hotline. That number, 1-800-273-8255. Again, that's 1-800-273-8255.
Gorgeous looking morning over 7th and Rangeline. Even though we don't see any satellite coverage on the Skywatch Storm Tracker, it's very, very light out there as we have a quiet intersection. There hasn't been a whole lot going on this morning. Current conditions at 57 degrees. We'll talk a little bit about the wind. Nice thing is it's calm right now. Grass is kind of wet though at that dew point, only 4 degrees difference between it and the temperature. Still throwing up some 60s in Neodesha and Chanute. Everybody else, I'll go mid 50s. Not a wide variety of temperatures there. 55 in Monette and Cassville and 56 in Oswego and Miami. Now we were talking about the old wind shift. Remember, yesterday came in from the north, had a good northerly breeze, wasn't too bad at all. Now it's going to come in from the south-southwest, but because it's pretty much going to be 5 to 10 miles per hour, not going to make a big difference in our temperatures. There is a Skywatch Storm Tracker. I'll tell you what, you get throughout the entire Midwest, not a whole lot of action going on. In fact, the contiguous 48 west of the Mississippi, you don't have a whole lot of action. Not good, of course, for the elevated fire concerns out to the west. Let's talk about the old East Coast because we still have Hurricane Larry, now at Category 2 and staying way far off the coast. That's great news. We do have another named storm, though. It's Tropical Depression Mindy. Started as a low-pressure system in the Gulf and is now making its way across the Florida Panhandle into parts of Georgia and then headed off into the Atlantic. Now, I do want to point out that it has created what they call a hurricane statement. Now, despite the fact for what it reads right there throughout Florida, this is a good thing because it's indicating that Mindy is departing the area, headed off for the ocean, and they do not anticipate any more flooding, no more gale force winds, and their tornadic threat is going to remain very, very low. So that's actually good news associated with Mindy. Here in the 4 states on our Thursday, we'll get up into the mid to high 80s, whole bunch of sunshine, then lock in for the heat. That'll begin tomorrow as we have our string of 90s that carries us into the mid 90s by the time we get to Saturday and Sunday. We'll be back with more KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this.
Missouri's Southern Lions play their home opener this weekend. The Lions host Northeastern State on Saturday afternoon, aiming to pick up their first win of the season. The Lions are 0-1 heading into week 2. Last Thursday, Southern fell in their season opener on the road 38-0 to Nebraska Kearney. For the Lions, Saturday's game will be their first home game since November 9th, 2019, and they're excited to be home, but with it comes a little added pressure.
There's that added sense of pressure when all of a sudden some of your peers are sitting in the stands. Mom and dad come down to watch a game, girlfriend, your co-worker, just everybody that you see on a daily basis is now saying, hey, we'll be at the game, we'll be at the game. But the thing that we've been trying to preach and for these guys to understand is they just have to go about their business the same way. Don't get too high, don't get too low. Again, it's another game, it's another opportunity to go out and showcase our talents.
Saturday's game will kick off at 2 p.m. in Joplin. Kansas City Chiefs are just 3 days away from their season opener. The Chiefs host the Browns on Sunday in the first game on their schedule. This one will actually be the second meeting between these two teams in 2021. Back in January, the Chiefs ended the Browns season, beating Cleveland 22-17 in the divisional round of the AFC playoffs. Kansas City, of course, ended up falling to the Buccaneers in the Super Bowl. Although it was their second straight appearance in the Super Bowl, getting there isn't the goal for this Kansas City group.
I said it last year was a failure. It's a failure every year you don't have it. I've had, 8 years where I've failed and 1 year where I've actually, accomplished all the goals and had a successful season. That's just how I look at it, man. I'm I'm stuck in that mode, really. I mean, it's just either you find a way to win the Lombardi or you gotta figure something out next year.
Chiefs head coach Andy Reid has faced Cleveland 8 times as a head coach. He's 8-0 in those games and 4-0 with the Eagles and 4-0 with Kansas City. Both the Kansas City Royals and the St. Louis Cardinals are on the field tonight. The Royals are on the road for their Game 3 of their series against the Orioles. The two teams have split the first 2 games. Royals up 4 in the 7th. Salvador Perez, his 42nd homer of the year. Kansas City up 5, and it looks good until the 8th. That was a tire fireman, Kelvin Gutierrez. RBI single here. Yeah, he scores 2. Game all tied up at 5. Next batter, Cedric Mullins pops it up to the right. Hunter Dozier under it. Doesn't matter. 2 more score. Baltimore has its first lead, but that wasn't even the end of it. The Orioles end up scoring 9 runs in the 8th. Kansas City gives it away 9-8, the final score. As for the Cardinals, they're in the middle of a big series against one of the best teams in the league. Game 3 against the Dodgers last night. The Cards gave up 2 in the 9th, but still hold on to win 5-4.
Hi,
It's time to honor today's 4-state hero, Sergeant Melvin Swogar Jr. in the U.S. Army. Hailing from Paola, Kansas, the soldier joined the military during World War II. Purple Heart recipient, fought in Germany and at Normandy Beach. To Sergeant Melvin Swogar, we thank you, our 4-state hero. In the moments after terrorists attacked the World Trade Center and the Pentagon, brave first responders rushed in to help. The aftermath at the Pentagon has been called the forgotten 9/11. Isabel Rosales spoke with the man in charge of the local, state, and federal emergency response in the immediate aftermath and in the days following the attack on Washington. The reason he insists, terrorists failed.
20 years ago, under crystal clear blue skies, Americans were unaware that 4 planes would be hijacked and would forever change our nation. One of them targeting this iconic building in Washington.
The Pentagon as the headquarters for the United States military, I think, is a symbol of what we project to the world in terms of how we defend our nation.
James Schwartz led the unified emergency response to the attack at the Pentagon. A split second before his training kicked in, he says he took it all in.
There was definitely a moment where taking in the fire and smoke that we're in this now.
The attack at the Pentagon killed 184 people. But the terrorists failed to break the American spirit. In Congress, God bless America. Republicans and Democrats sing elbow to elbow. Over the still smoldering section of the Pentagon, soldiers and firefighters drape the American flag.
We're still here, this building that we're standing in front of is not the United States of America. It's all of these people.
For generations to come, Schwartz says, remember the lives lost.
Every night at the dinner table, an empty seat. Every holiday or every birthday that loved one is absent.
The heroes.
I don't think there's been a day since that I don't think about them.
And the countless others inspired by these devastating images to answer the call to public and military service. In Washington, Isabel Rosales.
Another half hour of news and weather is just ahead. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Rule changes now allow student athletes to profit from their name, image, and likeness. How one company is teaming up with colleges to help young entrepreneurs develop opportunities. And we find out why a great blue heron is being hailed a hero for what it swallowed in New York Central Park. You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. We'll be right back.
Most watched news starts now.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. It's currently 7:29. Let's take a look at today's top stories. Hundreds of work-from-home jobs are currently available in the Joplin area. The latest data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics shows 13% of employed people teleworked or worked from home in the last 4 weeks because of the pandemic. But now some local businesses are hiring new employees specifically for work-from-home positions. Teleperformance and Dish Network have ads listed online for remote work in the area. And Alorica in Joplin is working on hiring 600 employees, none of whom will go to the office.
That's something born out of necessity that was done at first, and we've just had a great time with it. And then it really did make complete sense for us to bring 600 work-at-home employees here into the Joplin area.
Alorica has filled 300 of those positions so far. Freeman health officials spoke about the upcoming flu season and how the pandemic could affect it. Last year, flu cases hit a record low, which health experts attribute to increased masking and cleaning practices. Because of the low exposure last year, the CDC worries more people could be vulnerable this flu season. Freeman officials recommend everyone keep wearing masks, practice regular hand washing, and get the flu vaccine.
It works on a lot of different respiratory viruses, and in particular flu and RSV. So I would really strongly encourage all of us to keep that in mind, and especially, if you are a person who has pulmonary disease, that you're an at-risk population, not just for COVID. And I would really strongly advise you to continue to follow those.
Officials say it's safe to get the COVID vaccine and flu vaccine around the same time. Thousands of Missouri children have been diagnosed with COVID-19 since the new school year began, and at least one rural school closed for cleaning after an outbreak. A map on the state's COVID-19 dashboard breaks down virus cases among people ages 5 to 19 within each school district's geographic boundaries. The map shows nearly 24 districts with at least 41 new cases over the past 14 days. Combined, those districts alone have more than 2,900 illnesses. Locally, Joplin has the most new cases over the past 14 days, with more than 25 reported COVID-19 cases. Authorities capture a Pittsburgh man after a standoff. Police say late last month, William Patton, who was on house arrest, removed his ankle monitor. After following up on several tips, Pittsburgh police tracked down Patton at a Pittsburgh home on East 9th. After an hours-long standoff that involved multiple police agencies, including the KBI, law officers arrested Patton. Patton now faces additional charges of felony interference with law enforcement and unlawfully tampering with an electronic monitoring device. That's in addition to numerous previous charges that included aggravated kidnapping and aggravated assault. Authorities dropped marijuana possession charges once filed against the former Fort Scott Economic Development Director. A lawsuit filed by the former director, Rachel Pruitt, has also been dismissed. That suit alleged discrimination against Pruitt from city commissioners. Well, Tyson Foods is providing financial support to a McDonald County program focused on creating the region's next batch of workers. Yesterday, Tyson donated $10,000 to the McDonald County JAG program. JAG stands for Jobs for America's Graduates. The program helps students recognize their potential and equips them with the tools to land a job once they graduate. The JAG program was founded in 1979. It's a nationwide program that serves 76,000 students in more than 1,400 locations in 39 states.
The most out of the program that I have gotten is the information that I'm given and the resources that I'm also given to help me out with my with my future after high school, like college-wise.
The JAG program was founded in 1979. It's a nationwide program that serves 76,000 students, more than 1,400 locations, 39 states.
I was on top of it. Live look over 7th and Rangeline. A little light cloud cover. Nothing really showing up on the radar because it's so low to the ground. No precipitation to worry about. And now we're seeing a little uptick in the old Thursday morning traffic. It's comfortable as all get out. 57 degrees right now. Humidity sitting at 87%. Wouldn't even know it because it's so, I'm going to go ahead and call it cool is what it is. Roll down those windows for the morning commute. 56 in Carthage, 57 in Miami, and 61 in Chanute. Chanute says been pretty consistent about clocking in as the clubhouse leader here all morning long. Wind shifted overnight. Instead of coming in for the north, now the southwest. But if it's just going to roll 5 to 10 miles per hour, really not going to affect us. Be nice if they could get just a little moisture out to the west. And look at that, where you see that white right there. When we get to the national future track, you'll notice they are going to get a little bit of a break here by the time we get through the weekend. Our Skywatch storm tracker, not only us, the entire Midwest, just actually clear and beautiful as can be, with that jet stream bringing the cooler air off the Canadian border. And there's your cutoff low right there. We get that big circle. Just kind of isolates that Four Corners area. A couple things to talk about for the Atlantic Basin. Larry, Category 2, going to stay off of the coast. But now we're up to the letter M. That's right, we've got Mindy, a tropical depression right now. It started out as that low pressure system that's blinking there in the Gulf, and through the course of this morning it's made its way across the Panhandle right on the Florida-Georgia line. They have canceled all tropical alerts associated with Mindy, so that's great news. Future track for us is going to be warm and dry, and then we'll talk about heat by the time we get to tomorrow. But for our Thursday, it's going to be perfect. Let's talk a little bit about out west here. As we were talking about where that was isolated with that low pressure system. Well, it's going to take a little bit, but look at what finally begins to develop for them on Saturday evening. That's going to be welcome relief for everybody out there fighting those fires. For us, mid-90s by the time we get to the weekend. Saturday is going to be a little bit windy as well, coming in from the south, 20-25 miles per hour. We'll be back with more KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this. Been more than 2 months now that collegiate student athletes have been able to profit off their names, image, and likeness. NIL is what you'll hear it referred to for short. First time this has happened in the history of college sports. Now that we've got the first week of college football behind us, players are starting to see some of that money. Justin Collar spoke with a company in Indiana who works on deals with these students.
Thanks to NCAA, players like Purdue's David Bell can now make money off of their name, image, and likeness. So if the student athlete had a big game last weekend, you can now buy a shirt with his name on it to not only support players like Bell, but also the shop who printed it.
We'll see an uptick if a guy has a good game. Like anything, if the team's doing well, then shirt's going to sell, merchandise is going to sell.
T-shirts and stickers for 17 college athletes in Indiana. The shop prints them all.
This is kind of where it's really cool for these kids. 20 years ago, I might have said differently. I said, hey, you're on scholarship, that's enough. But from what college basketball, college football, college athletics in general, the machine it's become, they're not all going to go to the NFL or the NBA. So why not let these guys profit? It's a great learning experience for them.
A learning experience that Purdue, for one, fully supports.
It's a part of their student athlete experience, and they're learning with really hands-on experience. And before this, I don't know if they could have got that. So at Purdue, we absolutely support this opportunity.
Earlier this month, Purdue partnered with Altius Sports Partners to help teach their students and staff how to develop and manage name, image, and likeness opportunities.
But they're going to take all these skills that they learn here at Purdue, just like the rest of their coursework and what they learned from being a college athlete, and carry on that for the rest of their life.
Lives forever changed now by checks coming in the mail.
And they get a check every month. It's nice for them. Very little work involved on their end. They get input on the design, and we handle the hard stuff.
Whether these t-shirts and stickers will change the atmosphere of collegiate sport is unclear, but they're already making a statement.
I think there's some concern that there might be jealousy if one student athlete's benefiting from it, one's not. But that is a really good real world life example. That's just sometimes how things work.
And so with that being said, of course, the NFL season begins tonight. That was week 1 of college we were just talking about. And our high school 4-state football well underway. Asking what's your level of preference right now. 57% of you say the Chiefs still win your heart. You can take part each and every morning. Go to KOAMnewsnow.com/vote or connect to us via Facebook. We'll be back right after this.
Millions of dollars in COVID relief funds are being set aside for food and farm workers. The USDA says it's offering $700 million in grants to help defray costs tied to the pandemic. Those funds would be distributed to state governments, tribal entities, and nonprofits to help cover things like PPE, dependent care, and costs tied to quarantines or testing requirements. Airfares are likely to drop this fall. According to travel site Hopper, prices are expected to drop 10% from September through late November. The average round-trip ticket is projected to cost $260. While that's up from 2020, fall costs are lower than pre-pandemic prices. The most recent jobs report showed hiring slowed down significantly last month, even though there are millions of job openings. Naomi Ruckham tells us how pandemic-related issues are preventing some people from going back to work.
I have been unemployed since the beginning of lockdown.
Natasha Benjelli was a caretaker for seniors and the disabled before the pandemic. She wants to go back to work, but her daughter's been remote learning, and now there's a bus driver shortage.
My only option right now for her to go to school is to drive her there and pick her up every day, which completely rules out me going to get a job.
The latest numbers from the Bureau of Labor Statistics show there are a record number of job openings, nearly 11 million. That's more than the 8.4 million Americans who are unemployed.
There is a mismatch right now.
CBS News business analyst Jill Schlesinger says there are several reasons why many jobless people are not getting into the workforce.
Childcare issues that are really difficult to juggle. There are people who live with immunocompromised folks in their homes, so they've got health concerns. And maybe it's also this idea that the previous industry that employed you is still in flux.
Priscilla Bell is one of those people. The exercise instructor is getting some work, but most gyms in her area are not offering group classes because of COVID.
It frustrates me because I have a skill. I have a skill that I've been doing. It's what I do, and I've been doing it forever.
She thought business would pick up this summer, but then coronavirus cases started to increase.
I don't have control over when gyms open and close. Or now the Delta variant, I don't even know what's going to happen.
Bell says she is behind on rent and has applied for work in other industries to try and pay the bills. Naomi Ruckham, CBS News, New York.
Job postings on Indeed.com in late August were up 39% compared to February of 2020, a month before the pandemic started. Well, the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade will be an in-person event this year. Last year, the parade was a TV-only event, limited to performances with no giant balloons or festive floats. Participants this year will be required to show proof of vaccination and to wear a mask. The 95th annual parade kicks off Thanksgiving morning in New York City. Welcome back. We'll be right back with more after this, but first, let's take a look at the market prices before the opening bell. A great blue heron has become a hero for what it swallowed in New York City's Central Park. CNN's Jeannie Moose tells the tale of the disappearing tail.
Usually creatures in Central Park, like this mandarin duck, become celebrities because they're beautiful. But what's so great about this great blue heron is what it ate in a single gulp. That's an extra-large New York City rat on the losing end of the rat race. The video was posted to Manhattan Bird Alert, a Twitter account described as your soothing source for nature photos. Soothing? The heron may have speared the rat, then drowned it.
Dunked it a bit. They like to dunk in the water the stuff that they eat so that it goes down more quickly and easily.
Rats being rats, they get little sympathy. Sure, late night once celebrated Pizza Rat.
The internet blew up over this video.
Pizza Rat even inspired Pizza Rat Man. Someone tweeted philosophically, rat eats pizza, heron eats rat, the New York City circle of life. The Daily Beast dubbed the heron the most badass New Yorker. Another person posted, does this make that blue heron the new mayor of NYC? Because it should. As for how this moment stacked up for David Barrett, the man who captured it.
Oh, right at the top. This was exciting.
Though someone noted Sylvester Stallone did it first.
This is a rat burger.
There was one part of the heron video that seemed to get everybody. The tail, though.
It's like slurping down spaghetti.
When I eat like that, my husband scolds me, read one post. We once saw a rat about to be squished by traffic. Suddenly, a bystander came to its rescue. But there was no last-minute reprieve for this rat. The dining ambiance included music and crickets. Afterwards, the heron just vegged out, resting. No need for another meal that day.
And it probably didn't want to fly after taking down something so heavy.
Great blue herons, they're just like us, too full to move after, say, a turkey dinner. Ginny Mose, CNN, New York.
Michael, you know my love for hairless, tailed animals like that. So was it just alive in its throat, just like hanging out with it? Oh.
Survival of the fittest.
Yeah, you go, heron.
That's right.
You go, heron.
Yeah, who's at the top of the food chain now? How about that? Gorgeous shot outside of Television City with some very low-hanging clouds. No precipitation involved with it. I just thought that was really neat when you bebop outside right there. Our average high for this time of year, guess what? We're going to be right on par with it, just like we were yesterday. We actually got up to 87 at Joplin Regional Airport, so just a skosh about that negligible difference because we had a nice little northerly breeze. It's actually going to come in from the south today. We'll just go 5 to 10 miles per hour. It's calm over 7th and Rangeline right now. I got some low-hanging clouds as well. 57 in Joplin, 61 in Chanute, 54 in Monette, and 57 in Miami and in Fort Scott. There gives you an idea about those wind arrows right there. But I mean, even down to the south, Tulsa's calm as well, so we don't have anything blowing our way. That humidity, it is going to be a dry one. It's not only dry today, it's going to be dry pretty all week long in the entire Midwest. My goodness, just hard pressed to find any precipitation west of the Mississippi for that matter. Most of it isolated down there by the Gulf, Mid-Atlantic, and Northeast. Let's talk about the old Atlantic here for a second. Larry, a Category 2, will stay off the coast. That's great news. Also great news in the fact that post-tropical depression Mindy, now low pressure system, they have canceled all tropical watches and warnings associated with her. So we'll call that a winner now that we're getting through the letter M. 7-day forecast for the 4 states, high 80s, a lot of sunshine today. The heat wave kicks in tomorrow, takes us into the mid-90s by Saturday and Sunday. We'll be back, wrap up this edition of the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Here's what's happening today. President Biden is expected to unveil a new pandemic strategy today. The White House says the changes are aimed at limiting the spread of the Delta variant while increasing vaccination rates. The announcement comes amid a spike in pediatric COVID-19 infections and hospitalizations. More than 250,000 child cases were reported last week. Hurricane Ida is long gone, but it's still claiming lives. 11 more names were added to the death toll in Louisiana yesterday. Officials said most of them had died of heat-related causes after losing power during the storm. And the 2021 NFL season kicks off tonight. The defending Super Bowl champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers will take on the Dallas Cowboys in Florida. Buccaneers are led by their 44-year-old quarterback Tom Brady, now entering his 22nd season in the league. Let's check in with Michael with a final look at your forecast.
Fox 14 for you on Sunday. Don't forget, we've also got Ohio State, Oregon kicking off our Saturday morning college action. And also, too, over on KOAM, 3:20 kickoff, Chiefs and Browns. 7-day forecast, highs in the high 80s today, a whole lot of sunshine. And speaking of Saturday and Sunday, they want to be seeking some air conditioning and watching some footballs. We'll be in the mid-90s.
All right, well, great news for binge watchers as Bob Odenkirk is back to work on Better Call Saul after a health scare earlier this summer. The actor announced his return on social media on Wednesday. Odenkirk collapsed from what he called a small heart attack while on the set of the show in July. He's currently filming the show's 6th season in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Odenkirk plays lawyer Saul Goodman on Better Call Saul, which is a prequel to the AMC hit show Breaking Bad. I know you've watched Breaking Bad. Have you watched this Better Call Saul yet?
You don't know what's going to happen between him and Kim. Hello. After she got in the accident and they had to depart the firm, and then she just kind of gave up and she started living at home. And remember, she was watching all those videos that she got from Blockbuster, and all he could do is kind of sit and console her, trying to get her back up and running. So that's going to be interesting. I really hope they open up the Albuquerque office again too. I thought that was a great idea. But now, how is he going to transition into a life of Saul, you know, instead of Jimmy? Because his character's at Jimmy. You know that, right? James McGill?
Yep.
Yeah. So, yeah, his real name is James McGill. And then he becomes Saul. And so we're going through that transitional period right now.
I had a feeling.
No, I've heard it's good. Maybe I'll check it out.
I had a feeling you watched it. Just haven't got you to talk about it yet. Broke the seal.
Ray Seahorn's the best. Thank you for letting us put the good in your morning. We'll be back with more news and weather when we see you at noon.
Have a great morning and an even better day.